to Deal of the Week.
What's up, players?
I'm here with Paul and Andrew. How are you guys?
I'm super.
Oh, this looks like an MLS one. This will be interesting.
Super-de-duper. Thanks for joining us on Learn From Us, an investor and real estate discussion panel with some great minds. What we do on these episodes, here's our theme song.
Deal of the week, deal of the week. Andrew brings Paul a deal of the week.
And
That's there too.
Thank you for joining us as always.
Was that a harmonica?
I want to play the harmonica. A friend of ours, Harry, plays the harmonica quite well.
Harry would play the harmonica.
Does he have the whole headset?
No.
Like Billy Joel style, Piano Man?
What we do is Andrew brings Paul a deal.
I don't like the MLS ones.
Don't whine.
I'm going to whine.
Whining already.
By the way, this is something that wasn't on the market.
Except it's MLS.
I printed the old MLS from when it sold previously so you could see photos.
Oh, thank you.
Where is this deal at this week, Andrew?
Here we go. Here's some pictures. North Canton.
I know where North Canton is.
Yeah?
Very much so. Wow, this looks like a dump.
Well, it's MLS photos.
Oh, okay. Not
What are you
taken
gonna
by
do?
me then. Okay.
Yeah, it's got this multicolored, it's a 2-story building, multicolor brick.
19 units.
Yep. 16 two beds, and then you got 3 townhome 2 beds. Nothing crazy fancy. Built in 72. This is a boiler building, but it's all electric.
Reason for selling. A new season in the life of seller. What does that mean?
So it's a brick
That
building.
means they went to Florida,
It's
sir.
a brick building, 2 stories. It's got like the
Sure.
all. It kind of looks like a motel.
It does look like a motel.
It's kind of that shoebox apartment type thing. I mean, motel.
Shooby dooby doo.
It doesn't have that they call it the California walkway, like the Red Roof Inn. You know, that outside walkway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This has like some balconies up there.
Yeah. So 2 stories with all balcony on top, and definitely looks like a motel. Plenty of parking. It looks really close to the road, though, Andrew. Really close to the road. Like the road is in the backyard of these people.
That's one of the pluses. It's accessible.
Centrally located.
Owner has been proactive with maintenance issues over the years.
It's nice.
So you can see inside the units. I mean, cabinets are old.
The cabinets are old.
They actually
but
do. They actually do look nice.
They look kind of nice. Carpet and hardwood floors, or at least the snap together. This looks a lot. Oh my God! Look at that bottom left picture. Is that not that house we flipped up in Shaker? Look at this picture, Andrew. Is that not Ramage?
Oh,
Where
Maple
it's
Heights.
just real tight.
Yeah, it's just the same setup. It just looks
Yeah,
shockingly
we flipped it
similar.
around a little bit. It's close.
nice.
It's close.
All right. What are they currently charging at this? Oh, tell us the unit breakdown with the 19 units, Andrew.
Yeah, so we did that, but we'll do it again. So it's 16
Oh, so I
two
didn't hear it.
beds.
I didn't hear it. When did you do that?
Why?
And when? You said this, I'm losing my mind. 16 2 beds.
All these deal of the weeks, they just start slurring together.
Yes. And 3 1-beds or 3, what are we talking about?
No, 3 2-bed townhomes.
What does that mean again?
It's 2-story.
Oh, okay. They're 3 2-bed.
Flats would be 1 story.
I see. 2-bed flats. Got it.
Yeah, so it's all 2 beds, but just a little different style of it.
What are they getting for rent?
$575.
Yeah, if you go, I printed out, they were listing one of them for rent.
Is that for the flat? I assume not
Yes,
for the.
that's the flat.
What's a townhome getting in rent?
605.
That's out.
I know.
Okay.
What's going through your head, Paul?
I'm feeling like the rents are very low, which is good. That's very good.
But Paul, you're from Canton.
Yeah, I am from Canton.
What do you think about the rents down there? Do you think they're super high?
No, I think the rents are going to be lower than most. But Andrew, $575 for a 2-bedroom?
That's pretty low.
That's really low.
Yeah.
I was getting $575 for a 2-bedroom 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is boiler.
Yeah.
So
What's
they're
that
paying
mean
the
again?
heat.
But-
that means
but
the
it is-
landlord's probably going to pay the heat.
It's, I'll say, one of the newer, more efficient.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there saying,
But why would that matter about the heat? You saying can you transfer that charge onto the?
well, you charge like a heat fee or a utility fee, but you
So on
can't get
some
the
of the-
exact.
Yeah, on some of the bills, you had buildings with the boiler, and you got radiators and old pipes, and you lose a lot of gas.
Uh-huh.
But you got 1 meter coming into the building, so there's one bill for the whole building.
Okay, that's good for the owner.
In the sense, it's bad because you're paying the bill as the owner.
Can you transfer that bill onto them or no?
You don't know how much each one's using. How do I know if you're keeping your place at 92 and I'm keeping mine at 76?
Oh, I see. Oh, that's bad for you then.
Yeah, so I can't pass it on. I just include it in the rent. So when Paul says 575 is low, yeah, it's low because they're paying the gas. You should have part of that rent should be higher because you're allocating gas bill.
Okay. This all makes sense.
So that makes it a little bit lower than it should be if it was all forced air. By the way, the townhomes are forced air. They have their own furnaces. So it's a little bit of a blend, but
how much of this goes into location? If this is in the middle of nowhere, down a street, not near a ravishing not Rolling Acres Mall, but Belden Village Mall, like how much does location matter?
I mean, it does, but you factor in a few things, and like I'm underwriting an 8 cap, not a 7 cap.
I did as well.
Describe the difference between the two numbers besides being one off.
For every $1 million I pay for a property with an 8 cap, I expect $80,000 in revenue. For every $1 million with a 7 cap, $70,000 revenue. So I'm basically saying I need to make more money on this property for every $1 million I spend on it.
Okay.
And you're doing that based on location, rural, and...
Is this rural, really?
Well, I mean, I kind of almost consider all of Canton a little bit.
Okay, dick.
Yeah, I mean, there's some busier.
I'm withholding comments right
I mean,
now.
not downtown Canton, but like once you get on the outskirts, yeah, you could just hang a right, Paul, and be
I
like kind of off in the middle of nowhere.
I lived in Canton. I went to downtown Canton like 3 times ever.
Even saying it, I was like, is there a downtown Canton?
It's actually happening now. They're like putting
Paul, did you
restaurants
even
and all
take a right out of your gated community, or was it just lefts?
Well, I would always make the help go do that. I'd be like, you guys go down there and make sure it's safe for me.
Okay, just checking.
So what are you thinking, Paul?
You know, it's not the best pricing.
What do you think rents could be with a...
So here's the issue we have. The boiler. I don't know how expensive these expenses are. What'd you underwrite in expenses? That really kills the deal for me.
So, again, being more efficient, I went on that and the idea it's a smaller building, so I'm not trying to murder it.
Uh-huh.
I think I did 5350.
I did 5250. Here's the deal. This is probably a great property for somebody who wants to go, I want to own 19 suites near where I live, and I'm going to manage it and do everything myself.
Well, I think on Deal of the Week sometimes, because we are looking at some.
We can't buy this for our portfolio because we're a management company that has expenses. We're gonna operate as a single owner. Could probably save $750 or $1,000 a unit in rent. I mean, in expenses just by doing the work themselves. True or false?
True.
So I should be looking at this place in North Canton. Oh, wait, it already sold, though, or you're saying, or...
So, this property came to me from a lawyer
Oh.
because it's in court because someone can't pay their bills.
Let me see
Is
this.
it in foreclosure?
Let me
Yes.
see this affidavit.
Right now?
Well, it's got numbers in here.
Ah.
But the point is, so I'm working with the lawyers. The guy is going through, he just got I'll call it a stay of execution, where he was required to like put up extra bonds and mediate with a judge and try to work out a deal with the bank. But he's in the process of losing it. So this number that I cut out of the MLS, the game
love
on
those.
Deal of the Week. Yeah. Hey, you like
at
that?
that.
Except for
Yeah.
the one time you forgot to cut the number out.
I didn't cut it on the bottom.
I was like, that looks
So
good.
we're going to do a couple things. One is valuing where it's worth it to us. And the next thing we can also guess, since it's not technically
It's
for
very
sale
low,
right
it's
now.
very low for us. Like I'm looking at myself saying,
So this sold in 2018. I'll tell you what it actually sold for in 18.
right now you'll tell me that?
No, that
Oh.
ruins some of the fun. You guys can guess it, though. But you do have the clue they paid enough where he's losing it already.
Well, that could be. I mean, that's a really high, $1 billion. Did he pander? I mean, of course, it's.
Good guess.
Thank you.
We're narrowing it down. So put some numbers on it, Pablo.
Andrew,
I know.
I put the rents at $695 for the flats, $795 for the townhomes.
$125 increase.
Yeah, Andrew looks a little hesitant about that.
I tightened it up. Exact same on the flats.
Uh-huh.
$725. Here's why.
Really, $30
But here's
more,
why.
Andrew?
It's still a 2-bed.
But it's a townhome versus a flat.
I understand. Hey, if we can get more, awesome.
I disagree with Andrew on that one, but that's fine.
He's going up from 605 to 725.
So it's quite funny you mentioned that, Seth. I think this is the prime example of somebody who didn't know what they were sitting on. We have this happen a lot where people go, well, the market's this. Well, the market can be wrong at times in general. We've bought properties where we jack the rent up immediately and we're the highest in town on the street by 30%. Everybody's like, you'll never get that. And we get it. Why? Because rent stays so low for so long. People are accustomed. In the 2000s, it was hard to raise rents because everybody was buying homes. So a lot of owners just got used to not raising rents steadily. We were just like, well, listen, people still make more money. They're still going to pay more. Sure enough, we got it.
So one of the things I was looking at.
I think it's an example of what that might be the case.
And I will admittedly say, I probably went a little lower just because Canton property doesn't appreciate a ton, and I held it back a little bit.
Well, yeah, okay.
But this is a good candidate to paint some brick.
It is.
I was just going to ask, I can't believe you just said that because we never talk about the exterior. And I was like, well, what do you do about this somewhat hideous exterior?
I follow this Instagram account where they show so many houses that go from that to painted white brick, and it looks fucking amazing.
What's the accounts?
I don't remember. It's like before and after flips or something like that.
Yeah, so Paul,
next time I see one like that, Seth, I'll send it to you.
On this building, take that first story. It's this, I'll call it multicolored red, gray, white, kind of pinkish brick. And on top, it's literally red like a tobacco barn.
Okay.
And if you did that white painted brick on the bottom with like a muted gray up top,
I'll
that
say
would
this
look
right
awesome.
now. For us to buy this property, I hate to say this number, you're going to hate it. 20 a door.
20 a door?
Yeah, 380 for us to do it. And I think that's me being aggressive still.
What?
I came with an end value of about 31 a door with our numbers.
So my number's lower than yours, Paul.
Wow. See, I felt like I was going too low.
But I also sat there and remember, I was using 15 for rehab. 15,000 per door in rehab.
Andrew, you're going way overboard there.
And
way overboard.
And you went a little higher in the rents.
Why so much, Andrew? It looks kind of nice.
Because I think you do need some outside stuff. You guys can't see. I did an aerial of the property, and like the parking lot's a train wreck.
What would you do there? The whole full blacktop?
Yeah, it needs it. Like, it's just gravel, pothole everywhere.
Remember this, guys. When you're buying property, you got to look at those things. That's money out of your pocket.
And that does not increase rent at all. So if I'm sitting there going...
Well, it doesn't directly increase rent.
True.
Also, the roof. I mean, what if you get there and the whole roof needs redone? We're talking...
Those are all things...
We'll just have Andrew write emails to the insurance company.
Yes, that'll get them. Go on. Keep going.
No, same thing. What if the hot water tanks are old? What if the furnaces are old?
Yeah. Well, we here's the deal though.
There's certain things that you can.
But every deal we do, we look at we assume we see those things and go. There's a lot of assumptions you can make.
Correct.
So what number do you have? 15 a door?
I did 15 a door.
And it's tough, guys.
Because how quickly are you going to go through 3,000 a door on the outside?
I think that an owner operator could pay 25 a door. Maybe 30, do the work themselves, rehab themselves, and do decent with his property.
I also I wanted a 20% IRR on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at 320. Now, could I get more aggressive? I can get more aggressive on the rents. I can be...
By the way, the ones I was more aggressive on were the 3 units. It's not going to really change it that much.
I know.
All right.
But I think you might be able to get a little more for the flats. We agreed on it, but you might be able to break 700 on the flats, too. With granite counters and done up and all that fun stuff. I mean,
now the guess is how much the guy paid for it in 2018. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is it 6 figures or 7 figures?
6.
Oh.
It's 6.
All right.
But remember, we're doing numbers saying, oh, I think I can get 695 and all that kind of stuff. He was still getting 575.
He paid $695 for it.
Seth?
I'm lost on this one because...
Yeah, it's a tough one, Seth.
It's tough.
This is a really tough one.
I'll give you a clue. Think Las Vegas.
Strippers and gambling?
777.
That's what he paid?
777,000.
Yeah, no wonder he is losing it. Wait a second. Wait a second.
So let's do that. Paul's already doing it. He's working back. Walk us through the numbers when you're
I'm just going to sit there and say, what's his mortgage payment alone if he puts 20% down? His mortgage payment alone is 8 of the units. It's half. Just the mortgage payment, it's half the rent.
And you haven't paid a bill yet. Real estate taxes, insurance, maintenance, anything.
And it's, oh, God.
So he bought a 19-unit place, and he's only possibly getting some income from 6 of the units?
But he hasn't paid expenses yet.
That's not getting income.
He's just using that to pay his bills.
Pay bills, yeah. It's literally the idea of, I'll buy something and maybe the tenants live there and they pay the
Who's the idiot bank
down.
who gave him the loan on that deal?
It was terrible.
They should be shot.
So where's the update on this place? He already lost it?
He's in the process of losing it. And when I was talking to the lawyers, they said, hey, this is something that...
This guy paid $777 for something that you guys thought you might want it at $320.
The property is valued at $480. Who the fuck values the property at $480?
This is the courts.
Oh, thank you,
with an
courts.
appraiser.
Thank you, courts. Thank you. Thank you.
But
thank you.
Wow. This is baffling.
To say it's baffling is an understatement.
So what do you think is going to happen next with this thing, Andrew?
my guess is the court gave him some requirements to hit. He's not going to be able to hit any of them. And this is one that hopefully we can get in and get it before it goes to auction at a number that we want, that kind of, hey, bank loses, they get out of the way, he gets out of the way, satisfies the court, everyone's done, and we snake it just because we know the lawyers involved and stuff like that. Going the other way, we aren't allowed to get in, and they send it to public auction. And then someone shows up, and I mean, Paul went to an auction, and it went for significantly more than we thought it was going to go for. So
how much money does someone need to get this? Let's say
it goes for $500,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say 480 at an auction. Like, who out there with what kind of bankroll?
You need $100,000.
You need $100,000, just put down payment down.
$100,000.
But then after the $100,000, you need all the expenses you're going to put in.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to rehab the whole
50,
place.
Yeah. Not even rehab, just do the driveway. It's going to cost some money.
Yeah, but people may come in and sit there and say, "No, I'm just going to paint and work off that."
That's
for a
the
while.
problem with real estate. They're just like, "Oh, that's the way I did it when I first started. I'm buying it to just get it rent ready."
Well, I'm trying to figure out how far away I am from this place, money wise.
I was going to say you're about what? 18 miles.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, something like that.
18 miles.
You're going to need a new map.
Yeah, like someone listening who has some money saved up, like how far away are they? This is not a good first buy, right?
This is not a good first buy. I think they need to.
We should be asking this on every deal of the week. Who is the right candidate?
Yeah,
to buy
this is definitely somebody who lives in Canton who. But everything's about the right price, though. You know what I mean? It's like, could you pay $480 and be fine? Maybe. I mean, you'll be fine. You're not gonna. I mean, you're probably gonna make a good return if you do all the work yourself. But if you want to grow a portfolio,
you're
gonna
do the work yourself, and you're from a management standpoint, and even going and doing some of the maintenance, and you're only putting $3,000 a door in and getting half that.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're going to get a
you're not going to do terrible, but you're not going to kill it.
You'll get a teens return.
You know what we need? We need a computer here with RE Calc in there so we can start doing these kind of models in there.
Yeah. We'll just bring an iPad.
This episode of Learn From Us is sponsored by Apple.
We wish.
Visit apple.com. It's not. Can I just say that, Tim? You check with legal upstairs if I'm allowed to say that.
Legal's not
Legal
upstairs.
says no.
They're on vacation. You can do what you want.
Okay, great. Perfect. All right, guys.
Universe.
No deal. Oh. Switch topics?
By the way,
let's do the universe.
If I get it for $320, I would look.
Yeah.
Seriously.
What do you mean you would look?
I mean, really consider buying. Like, go to the property. And,
yeah. You look at it.
And all those things that you were saying is, how old is this? How old is this?
Yeah.
I would do it now. I mean, $320, I would really seriously say, okay, I can get this. Because look at it. It already sold once in bad condition for $700,000+.
It's crazy.
Right?
God,
so if I put some money in, I could sell for the same price with higher rents and still make good money. What was your end value on?
Guys, I know people who, not a lot, Andrew.
That's what I'm saying. You didn't even get to that after the work.
No, I didn't. I know people who bought properties in 2005 and still say, when you say like, 15 years, you'll do fine. I know people who bought properties in 2005 who still say, I'd be happy to sell it for what I bought it for.
Really?
Yeah, because they bought in the peak of the market. It's still a bad market right now, everyone. Can we talk about the so everybody, really quick, in the last podcast, which we recorded many minutes ago,
moons
ago, we were talking about the universe because Seth wanted to talk about this, and we thought we'd bring Andrew in on it. So if you don't want to listen to the universe conversation, you're an idiot. But go ahead, and Seth. Oh, sorry. Tim told me that wasn't very nice that I said that.
Well, they can just turn it off.
Well, I'm drawn to science, and so I was listening to a podcast with a scientific guy. Well, it's Joe Rogan podcast. I listen to a few of them, but Paul and I are always baffled about the universe, how it relates to us. What is our point? Mankind, life. It's crazy. Drastically changing topics. I called Paul. I said, Paul, do you know, which I did not. And Andrew, have you ever heard this number? Observable galleries. Galaxies. I'm in photography, so I say galleries all the time. Observable galaxies. 2 trillion.
I think you said 1.2 trillion.
2 trillion.
2 trillion?
2 trillion.
That's
observable.
By the way, does anybody know how big a galaxy is?
That's difficult for me to even comprehend. The amount of space. I mean,
I gotta Google
that's
this.
unreal.
Now, that's the mindset. So, and the mindset is I was even I was going to look up some figures, Paul, for you. Like, if 1 grain of sand is obviously 1, what does a trillion grains of sand look like? How much is that? I don't even know. I'd like to see some sort of graph about what a trillion somethings look like. This kind of comprehend it, because
So it's something to be able to say, like, a grain of sand sits on this table, a trillion fills this room.
I don't know. Tim, can you look up something like what a trillion something looks like? Whether it's basketballs or, I don't even know, ping pong ball, whatever. So 2 trillion observable galaxies. They think that we see, well, they think it goes on forever. But so the mindset would be there's many, many, many more trillions of galaxies, Paul. And then they said, okay, so I didn't know this about the Milky Way. The Milky Way has 200 billion stars.
And that's 1 galaxy. And each star is essentially a sun that potentially has things revolving around it like other planets.
There are 200.
Why are you laughing?
Because the number is huge.
It's just.
It's astronomical.
Yes. So I can't.
Hey, I just said astronomical. That was cute.
It's astronomical. So.
By the way, there are 7 quintillion grains of sand on Earth estimated. Quintillion.
So
that doesn't help me.
That's a million times more than 2 trillion, which sounds like a lot, but if you think about it,
1 million times more.
Yeah, but if you think about it, so it's a lot, but at the same point you sit there and go,
hold on, here's Tim. Tim, tell us.
So I looked up grains of sand as well.
Uh-huh.
There's 1,000 grains of sand per cubic foot.
Oh, there's 1,000. Oh my God. There's 1,000 grains
the
of
estimate
sand.
is 7.5 quintillion grains of sand.
Well, don't talk about the whole world. Just just come back to what it looks like.
Okay, so 1,000.
So there's 1,000 in a
2
shoebox.
trillion.
There's 1,000 in a shoebox. So that doesn't get as close to 2 trillion. Here's my point. The Milky Way is
that's 2 billion. That's 2 billion
shoeboxes of sand.
Shoeboxes of sand.
See, I can't even rationalize what a billion looks like.
I know.
What would a billion?
Shoeboxes. 2 billion shoeboxes. 2 billion shoeboxes of sand.
All individual galaxies.
Yes.
So here's one.
Go ahead, Andrew.
There's no way there's no life out there.
Hold on a minute. I'll get to that.
As someone who's trying to play tennis and all that stuff, and
Go
someone
on.
who does fall.
Okay, tennis balls. Go on.
So it's sand. Imagine half a tennis court.
Uh-huh.
Put 1 grain of sand on it.
Uh-huh.
A trillion is that half tennis court 30 feet high.
So it's the full tennis court 30 feet high is 2 trillion grains of sand.
Yes.
So take a tennis court, go 30 feet high, all sand.
Fill it with sand.
That doesn't seem right.
That's 2 trillion.
Because we said 2 billion shoeboxes. That's more than 2 billion shoeboxes.
I think it would be less than 2 billion shoeboxes.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly it. Oh, you said.
That's what I'm saying. It's way.
Echo.
No, he said. I think
gotta
it's
be your
more.
bowl.
And I said, no, it's less. That's what I'm saying. It's
got to be your bowl.
Okay, so you ready? Fine. Let's just not try and comprehend all the galaxies. I'll dumb this down to that. There's 200 billion stars in the Milky Way. 200 billion stars. There are 2 billion Earth-like planets. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. 20 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way alone.
Multiplied by 2 trillion. Because Milky Way is a galaxy and there's 2 trillion galaxies. Guys, anybody who...
So here's the point. Why am I going to all this, Paul? Did you know that microbes can survive on Earth? I'm sorry, in space.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it can survive.
Microbes can survive in space.
Okay.
There are microbes growing on
Explain to everybody what a microbe
space
is.
system. Just a single multicellular little organism
Yeah.
that's reproducing. They can survive in space, and they can survive space travel. So I didn't know, other baffling numbers, is that the universe they think is around 14 billion years old. 14 billion years old. That's right. How do they know this, Paul? The galaxies that they're observing are spreading out at a very specific rate and a similar rate. And so all they're doing is saying that if they're spreading out at a similar rate and we think they all got clustered together at one point, then we're just going backwards in time as to how far away they are.
Assuming they were all together in the beginning.
Yes.
Well, the assumption is that since they're going away from each other now, right? They started at a certain point.
Yep, and they're all going outward. So someone would say, well, if you don't believe that number, that the universe is, or at least our viewable universe is 14 billion years old, the proof is you can see the light. The light that's coming from the most distant observable
you're
gallery
looking at the past.
is 14 billion years old.
That's the point.
Well, I'm sorry, not 14 billion. Yeah, it is 14 billion years old, but it's taking light years. They're calculating.
For everybody out there, when you look at space and you look at stars, you're looking at the past.
Because it's taken many, many light years for that light to get here. So it happened 14 billion years ago or whatever, and it's now reaching our eyeball. And a second later, the next photons of light that are hitting our eyeball are coming from
186,000 miles further away than that, because that's what light travels at.
Yeah. So the point is they're saying is.
So how is it possible that there's no life elsewhere?
So they're saying
we're talking about billions upon billions,
I think
billions multiplied by billions.
That's the question.
I know
Is
that's
there? Yeah.
No, it's
mathematically, statistically speaking. What does that mean?
So that's what this guy was saying, is that it's not like, is it? It's just if. So I didn't know this. So there was a huge explosion, and then Earth cooled, and as it cooled, and the guy talks about it, I mean, it's just fact. It's funny. He's just like, this happened. This is exactly how it happened. As soon as the Earth cooled, life started to flourish. And it very well might, not very well, it started from these very small, minute microbes that can live in all of the stuff that's exploding outward. This world that we know, this Earth that we know, is 4 billion years old. The first 3.2 billion, 3.8 billion years was just slime, just microbe slime doing nothing, just replicating, doing nothing. It sat for that long dormant. And then people would say, well, wait, how does that slime turn into a giraffe? Well, once a strange morphism or what's the X-Men term, mutation, can occur.
By the way, that's not an X-Men term. That's a science term.
I know. I'm just like mutants, right?
Yeah.
So crazy things can happen where one of these single-celled organisms can burst into a multicellular and then get a tail or something. A cell can go in the wrong direction where they start using it in a certain way, start propelling itself, thus evolution occurs. And this guy was saying that a single-celled amoeba to a giraffe is not that radical in terms of the grand scheme of the universe being 14 billion years old. Having it happen over 500 million years.
Well, Richard Dawkins talked about that in his book about when people say, evolution is garbage. Like, listen, look at how much we change over a 10-year period that we don't even notice it because we're just always observing each other, right?
Joe Rogan talked about how, well, wait a minute, there was some study that octopi, they came here in the eggs of some weird, there's such a strange animal. They have camouflaging, and they're just, and the scientists are like, actually, no. I mean, the difference between us and a human and an octopus is so little that you're not envisioning
from a DNA standpoint.
A DNA standpoint.
Don't we share? Somebody said to me we share 70% of the DNA with a banana.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what they're talking about. Yeah.
I mean, chimpanzees and us are like
99.998.
It's like something crazy like that.
Yeah, it's like and that's the argument with a lot of like people who are against evolution. It's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, how if we came from chimps, why are they still here? And it's sort of asinine to say because we're even so close to a gnat, that a gnat has a body and arms and a head and a brain, that it's just insane, some of these numbers. I couldn't comprehend them. But as soon as the earth cooled, the microbes that were on here took still billions of years to get to animals.
Well, no, because you said it was 3.8 billion of the 4 billion.
Yeah.
I thought evolution was taking like billions of years. I thought it was like 1 billion years of evolution or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, I mean, maybe my numbers are somewhat wrong, but yeah.
The whole point, people, is that you see the change that your child makes when they were born, and you don't see it on a day-to-day basis, but then you look at pictures, you're like, holy cow, this person is very different. That's over 1 year.
Yeah.
Imagine
I got a puppy. It grew in a week.
Yeah. Imagine over 1 billion years what can happen.
It's not possible. So they're saying, like, we always think of aliens like these little guys like that are walking around. And he's saying that the microbes that sprayed off of this big bang, and maybe some planets cooled. What if they have literally a 1 billion year head start on us in terms of evolving,
yeah,
growing? Well, that's the thing. What will humans look like in 1 billion years?
We'll be dead.
That was another one of his points.
There's no way we're around in 1 billion
years. There's just a finite.
Yeah.
From a resources standpoint, you mean?
No, he said that the laws of nature say that things come and go, and it's because the laws of nature is that we can actually exist. So like the pot of that is the earth that gave us like ability to have life, it might come and go. And they think that like on Mars, that coming and going of life has happened a billion years ago. It already came and went. Now it's all dried up. And that, so it's just...
Well, look at our houses. If a house sits vacant for 200 years, it would basically become rubble, become nothing, it'd be part of the ground.
Yeah.
So imagine if on Mars, they did have some sort of a human life form, and all of a sudden it was just like...
covered.
It's done. It's gone. Because it's all disintegrated. If you let a house sit for 200 years, it'll go bye-bye. It'll become dust.
200. I mean... My house is falling apart after 20. I mean, my roof,
She gone.
It's just...
This stuff is very fascinating.
It's incredibly fascinating, and
it also makes you realize, like...
It's just really only a matter of time.
But I thought the dinosaurs were put there to tempt us.
Yeah, and so...
Awkward.
So yeah, I mean... So... I don't want to get into, like...
Yeah, you do.
I don't want to get into religion because there are a lot of religious facets that talk about the beginning of time.
Well, I think the conversations parallel each other, though.
How so, Andrew?
Well, in the sense that, like, I'm sure the people that you listen to on the podcast and everything, I mean, they have very specific beliefs, which counter a lot of the religious beliefs on how the earth was created and all the stories related to what they believe in.
Yeah, so this goes back to what Paul and I were talking about in the last podcast about objectional truth and personal truth. And it gets muddy because I love hearing about how the cosmos were formed. And in the same sense, my kids come home from Sunday school and they say, Dad, did you know about Adam and Eve? And you're just like, yeah, so we got to talk.
But by the way, you still let your kids think about Santa, though.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, in fact, what did you tell your son last year? Like, well, he came to you and said, Dad, blah, blah, doesn't believe in Santa. Well, I guess they're not getting any gifts this Christmas.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
That's a lie. They'd still get gifts.
You saw that meme I sent you the other day.
Tell me about it.
Let me pull it up real quick. So I don't know if people are going to get this joke.
Oh.
I think I sent it to you, too.
Yeah. I got it.
Hang on a second. Where's Seth?
I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, it's really good.
Say it, Paul.
The joke is, it's off the Instagram account, Dad Jokes. Wait, I put it in a group chat, didn't I? Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Which group chat was it?
They even
group chat, wasn't it?
What?
They even know when all of the scientists know when the moon got blasted with all those meteors to give all the holes and texture to the moon. Jupiter apparently was moving through the galaxy when we were setting up the galaxy to like the way it's spinning now, as Jupiter was maybe in a different location, and as it plowed through and past us, they called it the Great Bombardment, or some sort of bombardment, and so it bombarded the moon, Earth, and Mars with very similar sort of, asteroids and whatnot. And so they even know when that happened.
Oh, here, is it here? Where the fuck is this?
Just sum it up for me.
Well, it was something
like...
Well, wait a second. I just want to get it right because it was funny. Oh, here it is. I remember being a kid and my parents filling my head with nonsense like Santa, Easter Bunny, and Tooth Fairy. Now I'm older. I don't fall for that rubbish anymore. Thank God.
That's deep, brother.
And Walsh just asked me to come back to teach, and as soon as they hear that, they're going to be like, and
so
banned.
Tough, man. It's
It
just
is tough.
Like my children have visions of the Tooth Fairy. They will wake up and describe to me what happened that night. They saw this fairy flutter in.
Do you put wings on? By the way, who does your Tooth Fairy?
Well, Gio's listening to the podcast, Andrew, and so the Tooth Fairy does the Tooth Fairy currently. Until she delegates a new, he doesn't listen, but
If Gio does listen,
He would have turned it off by now.
hey, Gio, I'm going to do something for you that's going to really help you out a lot. It's all bullshit, bro.
spoiler alert, Paul.
You're supposed to say spoiler alert.
To everyone below the age of 9 listening to our podcast,
Spoiler alert.
earmuffs.
Real estate is bullshit. Oh no, you're talking about, is that what you're talking about, right? Real estate? Anyway, I just
But you know, it is all
your
bullshit.
kids are
'cause
coming home from school and all that kind of stuff. And
But you know what, guys? But that's the whole point. It's like, what the fuck does all this matter then? We're sitting here worried about making wealth and all this stuff, and it's like, it's going to mean nothing. I mean, what happens of all this? I mean, there's no stock market. Was there a stock market, a billion years ago? No.
all of this is just a form of making ourselves happy in the time that we have here, right?
That's a valid point. I didn't
And
even
if
think
you
about
can
that.
make more money,
Well, theoretically, that makes you happier, of course.
happier, not happy,
Yeah, happier. I like saying
So
that. to
making
people.
more money can provide a lot more opportunities for your family doing some fun things, right?
yep.
So in the grand, and that's what he said. Like in the grand scheme of things, we're given a finite amount of time.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know what? Can I get a little more morbid here?
Well, but so before you get to that, just say this is the next sentence. I'm actually saddened of seeing all the Facebook posts where parents are jumping with joy when their kids go off to school. Because I realized in my finite time, I somewhat think this is like, boy, I can't wait for my fucking kids to get out of the house so I can work more. And it's like, Jesus. So
By the way, Seth was saying that sarcastically. I don't think he was really meaning that.
Well, I've thought that. Boy, I can get so much more done with those kids. And I just realized,
I get what you're saying.
I'm the only one that I don't want my kids go away. So I'd rather just play with them all day. And I see these parents just like, they're making like these parody videos that going viral because we all feel like, boy, I can't wait to get rid of our loved ones and just get them totally out of the house. Great. And it's just like,
what a
sad.
nice dad.
Anyway, I'm just sad that that's the way the world is.
I literally
nowadays.
thought you were about to start crying when you told
Yeah,
us the
so
story.
did I.
I just want my kids to stay home so I can play with them all day and wrestle with them and play catch and do stuff. But what were you saying about morbid, Paul?
I don't even know if I should get in this conversation right now.
It's been a long.
Please tell me it's been recording.
Let's not get into it. This is a whole nother podcast.
It's ticking.
We have 14 minutes.
Oh my God. I think about death a lot. Not because I'm afraid of it. I used to be afraid of death, and now I'm like literally zero fear of death. It's just like, okay,
Yes.
if it happens, it happens. Whatever, move on.
Mm-hmm.
And my views on the afterlife have changed, as Seth and I talk about. Seth and I have very deep conversations, don't we, Seth?
Besides real estate and getting business done.
Yeah.
And galaxies.
But I think to myself, like, okay, if we die and there's an afterlife, we'll probably know all these answers. And that'd be pretty cool.
So you think you're going to know the answers?
Listen, I don't know, but I think to myself, isn't that the point of all this? Like, you'll go to this afterlife and it'll be this all like, who knows what it is?
Unless there is no afterlife and there is no answer then.
That's a valid point. I used to believe that. And I'm looking, going, man, I just feel
Well,
like
I guess
there's
not having the answer is the answer, though.
So,
Yeah.
not to burst any bubbles, but like this guy who was a super scientist is like, yeah, so life is simply chemistry and atoms aligning. And so he's not a huge believer in an afterlife because
Yeah, go ahead.
even to the point where he's like,
How did it all start then, Seth?
what's that?
How did all this start?
So he's saying that it might not have just started. Everyone always wonders, well, how did it all start? Maybe it's just been existing forever. And when this Earth turns into Mars, a pile of dust, and we're all gone, the microbes in another galaxy of the 2 trillion observable galaxies, of which have 200 billion stars in each one, with inhabitable planets around each one, those microbes are going to do another series of events, and people, animals, whatever, are going to come and go. And we're in a
phase.
a perfect storm of science that creates beings that have the ability to innovate and think and ponder and question.
We need Bill Nye, the science guy, as our guest.
Boy, I'd love it.
But you know what, Seth? I just look at it going.
So what he's saying is, this is just chemistry, human body, people chemistry, and when the chemistry goes away and there's no furnace inside, there's no chance of an afterlife, of a religion. It doesn't make it. It's not possible. And when again,
well, wait a second. He says it's not possible. Is it really not possible? Listen, this is where we get into the debate because I'm not looking at it saying. I think either I'm just looking at it saying if I were to be the scientist, I'd be like, yes, it's more likely not than it is, right? But at the same point,
but it's like astounding.
What's forever though? What's forever though?
It's astoundingly not likely. Like he said, he even broke down the idea of seeing a ghost. Well, how can you see a ghost if what is a ghost? An apparition? Well, it has to emit light somehow. What is the chemistry behind a ghost? That's how we got to it. If you can explain everything in the universe, everything through chemistry.
But the thing is, though, we can't explain everything.
What parts? Well, that he would argue that he can.
What's dark matter?
He would argue
what's
that he
dark
can.
matter then?
Okay, not everything.
We literally. But that's the thing. Like you look back at 300 years, and they literally created a law that said we cannot invent anything else because everything that needs to be invented has been invented 300 years ago. And look where we are today. We don't possibly, 700 years ago, the flat earthers were the normal ones and the round earthers were the weirdos. We were just talking about flat earthers on the previous podcast.
How do you explain the Ghostbusters, Seth?
Yeah, you love the Ghostbusters. Explain that.
I've never thought about a ghost in terms of chemistry. If it can't emit light, you physically can't see it.
Or it emits light that you can only see it. I don't know.
Do you need to see it or can you feel it?
Well, feel what though?
Hey Seth, this is the one that gets me.
Go on.
What do you feel when you hold your kids?
Well, I feel connection and love.
I just started laughing.
Or I feel. You mean physically?
Well, what does that mean though? Connection and love. What does that mean? Is that chemistry of some sort?
Yes. It's.
But what's causing that? And why is it when you hug, if you hugged Tim's child or Andrew's children like you always do, you don't feel the same thing?
I don't hug his children.
I'm kidding. You don't feel the same thing. How is that? There are things we can't explain. That cannot be explained right now in terms of why, when it's your kid, you feel a certain way, and when it's somebody else's kid, the exact same touching, everything like that, it doesn't feel the same way.
Well, I mean,
by the way, that could also be closeness and emotional contact, which could be explained. Like, let's say all of a sudden the world ended, everyone was gone, and it was just me and Gio. And if I raised him and I was with him every single day, would I not feel that connection?
But that's my point, though. You would feel like it. But so how do you explain that?
Well, I'm saying that just
what's the chemistry behind you loving somebody more than somebody else?
Proximity.
My whole point isn't to say you're wrong or that guy's wrong. And you know me, I'm the agnosticator of all agnosticators. Name that movie.
I watched it last night.
Again?
Well, we're trying to get through it. My wife falls asleep about every 20 minutes.
It's been like 3 months.
Yeah, she falls asleep about every 20 minutes. So,
so my whole point is we can't explain that right now.
I think he would argue through chemistry you could explain why when you hug your
then
child,
explain
you
it.
feel.
I would love to hear the explanation. Some might say it's biology.
So a feeling, a good feeling means that things in your chemicals are firing in your body that feel good.
But why is it when you hug your child versus somebody else's child, it's a different feeling?
Well, we also have inbred motions, body movements, and feelings that have come from thousands of years of us being mothers, fathers.
But why is it that your child is different than somebody else's child is my question. Of course it's because of being mothers. But if you didn't see let's say you got Beth pregnant, she left you, she had Gio, and 20 years later you hugged Gio, you wouldn't be like, this is my son. You'd be like, okay, here's a random guy. By the way, I'm not trying to get vulgar here. There's a story of a father and daughter in France who fell in love and they didn't realize they were related until later after they'd fallen in love and had sex and all that stuff. And they were like, shit, this is my father.
That hurts your argument.
No, it helps my argument.
No, because they still felt something when they hugged each other.
That is true. But that's my whole point. Like, we don't know all the answers to everything. And I am a believer that science is going to explain a lot of things away. But at the same point, that whole crux of the Big Bang, this is the whole science of this Big Bang.
Well, I guess the point is, what if that Big Bang is just one of a gajillion other bangs? It's just that Big Bang of the observable universe that we can see. That's just one golf ball.
I know.
Of all of them out there.
But then what's around all those other universes? What are they held in? See, the thing is, like, people say, like, they're encased in something, in nothingness. Well, nothingness, I mean, they're saying the universe has it's growing, it's expanding. What's it expanding into? Nothing is still something. If the universe is still expanding into something, somebody says, well, it's nothing up there. Well, nothing is still something. You have an empty jug of milk, empty jug, it's still something's in there. Nothing is still something.
Why does it have to be?
It doesn't have to be anything.
Why does it have to be a container? Why can't it just be going on forever?
But what's expanding into?
I brought this up because this is my point. I brought this up, and because I don't get into what it's expanding into. I could care less. It's out there.
You couldn't care less.
I couldn't care less. What did I say? I could care less. I could care less. I couldn't care less. Thank you. Like
there you go,
it's
John
out,
Dyer. Suck it.
It's out there. It's this huge whatever, and there's proven to be microbes that can survive the space travel, and these microbes can evolve into giraffes.
And I don't disagree with that. And over time, science has shown that. Mm-hmm. I'm just sitting there saying what science has not shown so far that we're still learning today, every year. Now, do I agree with you that it's not what we've been taught it was through that certain book? Yeah. But at the same point, we don't know what's beyond. We don't know what happens after. I mean, as much as we like this, I don't know. I mean, it just.
Well, it's definitely true. We don't know, but boy, it's starting to get pretty clear with some of these.
I don't think anything's getting clear. I think it's getting clearer. It's like you're not rich, you're not happy, you're happier. It's clearer, but who knows what we're not even looking at, what we're not seeing. Are we on the tip of the iceberg of all the information we have to know? But I look at the love thing. The love thing is the hard thing for me to do because I look at it and say, if Adam, our intern over there, came and gave me a hug right now, I would have a different reaction than if my brother came and gave me a hug. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I get, but that's...
So is that using comparing emotions to things?
But aren't emotions also part of chemistry?
That's like, but hear me out. That's like saying if I eat a good apple, it tastes great. I feel wonderful. If I eat a bad apple, it tastes gross. I don't think that's some like magical thing that we don't know. I mean, right?
But let me ask you a question. If that weird apple was, the thing about hugging my brother is, if I never knew him and he was still my brother, if I hugged him, I wouldn't feel anything different.
That's why Andrew's saying it's proving your point wrong.
No, he was saying that about the joke about you still feel something. He was making a sexual comment.
Oh, but I mean, I think that's proving
insight.
You've learned to love. You've learned.
But how do you explain that learning to love?
I mean, you learn to eat food. You learn to do a lot of things, and so I learned that every time I bite into an apple, it's probably going to taste good. I mean,
your body doesn't show that though.
Yeah, maybe sometimes it might. Well, all right, guys.
More apples.
This was a deal of the week episode. It just went off the rails. Tim, the title is going to be
Tim quit.
Oh yeah,
Tim just left.
Fuck it. Yeah. The title will be Deal of the Week in Assessing Scientific Knowledge of the Universe with
It'll
Andrew
be
and Paul.
North Canton and the universe.
Yeah. So he just said in closing, he said, take your eye vision, look up to the sky.
I'm hungry.
And know that it goes on
and on
and on. Into unfathomable reaches, and it's just insane. So
I'm hungry.
I'm not even gonna get into black holes. All right, guys.
Love black holes. They're literally my favorite thing to discuss.
You got to watch this podcast, dude. They collide into each other.
Yeah.
And then they explode out and do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And no, Andrew, we're not talking about black holes.
What makes a black hole, Andrew?
Hit deal of the week.
No, let's ask Andrew. Let's see what Andrew says. Andrew, what makes a black hole?
This is
do you know?
beyond. No, it's like a space vacuum or something like that.
What makes it a vacuum, though? It's not really a vacuum, but go ahead. It's where gravity is so strong, people, that light cannot escape it. Let's keep this in mind. Gravity on Earth is 9.8 meters per second. 9.8 meters. The speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. So the gravity is so strong that light cannot leave it because the gravity is greater than 186 miles per second. So
I'm going to blow your mind. This guy said black holes are stars.
Oh, yeah. They're imploding. By the way, everything can be made into a black hole. It's just how compact you can make it. You can make this Coke can into a black hole, but it'd be so minuscule you'd never even notice it. Everything is an imploding. Black holes
I said
are
we weren't going to
imploding.
get into black holes.
But a black hole is an imploding star.
Yeah, star
It's
falling
imploding,
in on itself.
and then it pulls in so much.
Gravity increases as a star's mass decreases.
And that's what everybody has to realize. Everything can be made into a black hole if made small enough.
It's crazy.
So you can make we can make Andrew in a black hole if we put him small enough, because his density is compacted so much that it really increases his gravitational force.
It's crazy, man.
Pull.
Thanks for joining us and learn from us. This is a crazy ass episode.
I need a nap. I need food.
Right?
I'm hungry.
Chipotle.
Talk to you guys soon. LearnFromUs.com.